Well, I think the first thing I remember was, and I forgot what you call them, but maybe you can help me, is where the men, the older men sat, were standing. The Greek church, a great part of it was standing. And the older people get tired, and they had these little stands on the sides of the church where the older men could stand up and lean on them and rest. That's one thing I remembered, is I was surprised. The other thing I remember, how simple the church was. It wasn't anything elaborate. It was just typical Greek church with not much gold or ornament or anything at the beginning as a kid. But the iconostase, the icons and all their images there in front was one I remember very well. And then when the priest would open up the door, I thought it was very effective. But I remember how it was to come into the church for the first time and light a candle. And that's always stayed with me, lighting that candle and kissing the icon. And so that was the beginning of things I would remember from the church.
The kids love the old church, and I was telling Father yesterday that they should be the ones to tell you about the church, because they still think of the old church as their church.
And this is the one right behind us.
Right behind us.
And it's, in fact, it's still there. They've never torn it down because sentimental reasons. You hate to turn it down, tear anything down. But it was very, very small. In fact, they had a choir. The choir was upstairs in a choir loft, and then the church itself was small, but it was. They had seating, but it was funny because the men sat on one side and the women sat on the other side.
I remember in the Greek church that all of the men sat on one end side of the church, and the woman sat on the other side. They didn't sit together. The woman kept the children with them.
As a kid, it seemed like the church was full. You know, it was a small church. I would say, and we had chairs on the side, and I think we had the men on one side and the women on the other. Mm. Yeah. And on the side of the church were like these little things, chairs that would pop out, you know, against the wall, and you would sit there. And then we had some not chairs, but benches, I think. Can't remember. Yeah, but it seemed like it was pretty full. And we used to have the choir loft upstairs in the back, and Terry was the choir director. Yeah.
At one point, the St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church has a fire. The old church burns down. And do you remember that at all?
You know, I only remember, what year was that? Can you tell me?
Remember the date?
Early 60s, this? Yes. The early 60s.
In the early 60s.
Yes, yeah. I remember hearing about it. And there was, my parents were very upset, obviously, and wondering what was going to happen.
Do you remember the fire?
The church fire? Yeah. I was never there at the fire. I think it was before we moved here. In fact, I have one of the icons in my room downstairs there.
And you were now an altar boy?
Altar boy, and I was altar boy in the old. I made it to altar boy in the old church, just barely, but full-fledged after that. And I do actually recall that once they cleaned that church up, it took some time that we were able to have some services in the old church after the fire, before we made, the transition to the new place. But you couldn't really use the basement. You weren't really allowed to go down there. There were, walls were charred. It was, quite an an interesting experience when we actually had services there.
So because I assume because of expansion, or was it because the building, the old church was being?
Yeah, not quite big enough, and they wanted to have something, bigger. And we did have an architect in the church, and so I think it was, helped a lot.
Do you remember the ribbon cutting? All of a sudden, when they opened it.
Yeah, and I remember we did put something in the new, in the front wall, I think, down at the bottom. One of those things behind the.
Time capsule.
Yeah, I don't remember what was put in there though, but I remember that happened.
Once it started to be built, then there was uniform excitement, because they were so proud of the fact that it was gonna actually happen. These were not people with lots of money or resources, so the fact that they were I'm sure every last penny of anything liquid financially went towards the building of that church. It was a drain and a strain on those people, but it was important, so they got it done. There was also some concern that the Archdiocese would not approve the plans of a round church, as I recall. But so ultimately, it must have been approved because it happened, and it was built and consecrated. The bishop came; it was a big deal, and here we are. And so I grew up in that church. Vividly remember the night the phone rang that the church was on fire and burning down, and how upset everybody was, because in those days, those were every social event was the focal point was the church. If you had a dinner, it was St. Nick's Fellowship. If you had a softball team, it was the St. Nick's softball team. You had a basketball team, it was St. Nick's basketball team, other than your school stuff.
It took a lot of years, and we finally got enough to be able to get stained glass windows. But the big day when we built the new church, that was very, very. Of course, it was right in the same place. We just walked right next door. It was right. The old church was right there, and there was a driveway, Chapman Street, I think.
Chapman, yeah.
And then we built the new church right there.
When I walked up those steps of the new church, we followed Father and altar boys. When I walked in that church, I thought it was just a palace. It was beautiful, beautiful. Here was our little church that, fit just about, 25 people. And I thought it was the most beautiful sight in the world. When I think about it now, I get tears in my eyes about how all of the parents had gotten together and all the businessmen to build such a beautiful church for both the Greek and Alpinists.
The church was important to us when we came here because I think I mentioned before, we moved from Olean, and we didn't have a lot of friends and associations when we got to Jamestown. But the good thing was the church was there, so we got to meet a lot of the young people, made new friends, and played some sports for St. Nick's.
I lived on the corner right down here on Palmer and Francis.
Francis Street.
Okay.
So, we would always hear the bells at Easter time, and before I was Greek Orthodox.
I'd just like to wish the St. Nicholas community in Jamestown happy 100th anniversary. I'm proud to say that I was here for 88 of those years. Our family enjoyed it very much, and it is giving us a lasting memory. Good luck to all of you.
Beloved parishioners of St. Nicholas, I want to wish you congratulations on your centennial celebration. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to serve you these last 3 years leading up to this momentous occasion. May God grant to us all health and happiness as we prepare for the next 100 years. God bless you and be with you.
Our church is very special to us because this is where we got married.
It's special to me because of the friendship and the people are so friendly to get along with and so forth.
Hi, St. Nicholas. Happy birthday and many more years. And it's wonderful that I am part of the church and I am able to enjoy this with you guys. Thank you for the wonderful family you are giving me every day. I love you.
Congratulations, St. Nick. 100 years. It is a pleasure to be part of this parish. We are so happy here.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
St.
but-
Nick's, for your 100th year, and we love our church. It's beautiful, and we go a long way back since I was baptized here.
Χρόνια πολλά στον Άγιο Νικόλαο. Είναι χαρά μου που βρίσκομαι εδώ στο Jamestown. Έρχομαι από τη Νέα Υόρκη. Τώρα που μόνιμα ζω εδώ, απολαμβάνω την εκκλησία κάθε Κυριακή, κάθε γιορτή, όποτε μπορώ και βοηθάω λίγο πολύ τον παπά μας. Να είμαστε όλοι καλά. Χρόνια πολλά.
Congratulations on the 100-year anniversary of the Greek Orthodox Church here in Jamestown. I think it's an amazing accomplishment and it's very special. So,
Χρόνια πολλά.
Congratulations, St. Nicholas, on 100 years.
Hi, congratulations, St. Nick's. You've been the shining light for our family for not only this generation, but generations past, and we really appreciate the church and their family.
Congratulations on 100 years.
Congratulations, St. Nick's 100th anniversary. It's been a blessing for so many of our families. We started out in Bradford, and the other Greek families were kind enough to drive us up here and be participants in Sunday school. And eventually we moved to Jamestown, which was exciting because we got to know more of the church families. And we were part of the campaign for building the new church after the fire. And we were selling those Betty Dixon candies down there on 3rd Street every Friday. And then we'd help out with the bingo events. So it was all very wonderful in fellowship terms. So I'm just real excited that we're still here, and going strong is the most exciting part. Our programs are just growing by leaps and bounds. So God bless.
Congratulations, St. Nicholas, on 100 years. It's not just a church, but it's also our home.
Congratulations on 100 years, St. Nicholas.
And hopefully to 100 more.
Congratulations to St. Nicholas for the endurance of 100 years. Hope we stay here forever.
Amen.
Happy 100 years, St. Nicholas. Had a lot of great times in this church and with the church family. Congratulations.
St. Nicholas Church, we're so happy to be celebrating the centennial here. We were married here. We have 4 kids all baptized in the church. We're so excited.
It's been a great experience growing up in this church, altar server, like I said, getting married, and continue to be a part of the church for many, many, many years to come. Congratulations, St. Nicholas.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on 100 years, St. Nicholas. I was baptized in this church, married in this church. Such a huge part of my life. I'm grateful to be a chanter, and I'm so excited as we embark on the next 100 years. Congratulations.
On behalf of the Chironis and Turner families, we wish you many, many years. Χρόνια πολλά. I said it all. I know it. You were supposed to leave that for her. Okay.
Χρόνια πολλά, St. Nicholas.
Many, many years. My sister Angie and I, Jim Chironis, were both baptized in this church many, many years ago, and it is our joy that we stand here this year celebrating a 100-year anniversary for St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church. Thank you.